So our guest today has a book out, and I want to read a little part of it right away as we start today. It says, when you're radically clear, you're not distracted by shiny objects. You're not unsure about your next steps. You're not asking everybody for their thoughts on your decisions. When you're radically clear, you're highly focused on what's important. Nothing will throw you off course. You are decisive and sure about your next steps. You don't need, pay attention here, reassurance or approval from others about your decisions and goals. So let's chop this up today with James Laughlin. He is the author of the book that I was just mentioning to you. I'm going to throw it up on the screen so everybody can have a look at it and know what's going on. It is called Habits of High Performers. If you hit that QR code in the top right, it'll take you straight to a page where you can read more about it and buy it. But James, thank you so much for jumping on this podcast, and happy birthday, sir.
Thank you, Matthew. Great to be here on my birthday. Wouldn't want to be anywhere else.
Let's go. So, there's a few things that take place in this book, man. There's a couple of lines that really stand out to me. Common sense isn't always common practice. Oh my God. I feel like we could do 20 minutes just on that. Another line that really got my attention. He didn't have a time problem. He had a priority problem. So I want to march through as much as we can in the next 20 minutes, but let's start with where I opened, James. When you're radically clear, you're not distracted from shiny objects. I am and can be very guilty of the shiny object. And so what are you writing about in this book, and what prompted you to almost open up with that in your latest book?
Yeah, look, I look at the 7 habits of high performers, and they're very simple. And as you say, they're common sense, but they're rarely common practice. And so for me, getting radically clear on what you want, that's the starting point. Most people, when they come to work with me, whether they're teams or individuals, I'll ask them one question. What do you want? And most of them start with this. It's okay, great. I'll see you next week. I said, James, I'm confused. What do you mean I'll see you next week? I said, I know you're confused. That's why I'll see you next week. Right. And I leave it at that, because they don't know what they want. And if you don't know what you want, you are susceptible to every distraction, every doom scroll, everything that's getting advertised to you, every job opportunity. But when you know that you want this because of that, and you're willing to suffer to get that result, then you stay the course. But very few people are patient enough to get radically clear.
So here's what's coming to me right now, and I want to let's kind of start with this. Look, I had a very successful radio and television career, but I can only tell you that I had a very successful radio and television career because I was willing to sacrifice. I was radically clear on what I wanted, and I knew that to get it, a lot of things would have to fall by the wayside. I didn't get to go out with my friends all the time. I didn't always make the special event with family. I didn't always opt into the party. I knew I needed to take care of my body and the way that I ate and the way that I worked out because of the wear and tear that I was putting on myself. And so here's my long question to you, which is, when we're radically clear and we know what we're looking for, we must be willing to sacrifice some things. And I really do challenge people who say you can have it all. I don't know that you can have it all. You can have a lot of it, but if you really want something, you likely won't experience balance. You will experience flow. Can you speak to that a little bit and just give me your opinion? And if that's not how you feel, challenge me on it. I'm good with that.
Yeah, I don't believe in work-life balance. It's nonsense. What I do believe in is counterbalance. And sometimes that means you're doing 80-hour weeks for 4 weeks on your work, the thing you love, and then realizing, I got to pivot back over here to health and family. There's no such thing as a balanced day every day. I look back to, my younger self. I wanted to be a world champion drummer. And to get that first world title, I didn't hang out with my friends. I skipped school so I could practice drums. That's what I had to do. And as my life went on, and 6th title and 7th title, there was a lot of sacrifice. To bring it back to a more recent story, an example, I had a young athlete come to me and say, James, could you be my coach? It's like, yeah, I could be. So I work with athletes and I work with business leaders. I says, what do you want? And he started with, and I says, mate, I'll see you next week.
See you next week.
And he was very upset. He came back next week. I says, what do you want? And he said, to be the greatest player of all time in this sport. I was like, great. Now you know what you want. Secondly, why do you want that so badly? Well, my granddad was. He was heroic in this sport. Awesome. Last question, and then we're done for the day. And he goes, James, I'm paying you a small fortune to get me results. We're like 3 minutes into a 1 hour session. I said, trust me, answer this question and we're done. How much are you willing to suffer to get that outcome? He says, James, I don't want to suffer. Like, I'm here to get coached and to get there quicker and easier. I says, I promise you, you will not get anywhere close to that outcome if you're not willing to sacrifice or suffer. Let's figure out what your sacrifice looks like. Less alcohol, less partying, up earlier, more gym, more protein, all the things. Sounds simple, not easy, but we've all got to do that, Matthew. Get radically clear.
Okay, in the book, which I want everybody to check out, and I want to be clear about this book. This is not a like pick it up and like keep it on my nightstand and do some light reading at night before I go to bed. This is not that book. This is a book that will challenge you. It will have you opening up a journal many times throughout to really get to what we are hoping to jump into. And on page 83, you have this great list, and I'm just going to read it for everyone here. Have you ever said, I'm too busy, I'm too old, I'm too young, money doesn't grow on trees, I don't have money, I'm a night owl, I'm not a morning person, I don't like to read, I'm too fat, I'm too slow, I have a bad memory? One of the limiting beliefs that I carried with me for years, James, was that I did not know enough. Now, we don't have enough time on this podcast to unravel the why behind it, but why is it so important for you to spend some time in this book talking about those limiting beliefs?
Well, look, Matthew, you're full of BS, belief systems, right? Every one of us are full of BS. And that BS literally runs our world. And we think that we run our world and our conscious self does. Well, that's nonsense. It's our subconscious self. So here's an example. So I grew up in Ireland. I'm assuming you probably grew up in the continent of North America.
I did.
Fair? Okay. So we should probably not answer this question the same, but I'll get you to do it. So I'm going to get you to finish this sentence. Money doesn't grow on
trees.
Okay. So you said the same thing I learned. Perfect. Right. So we grew up in different continents, but same belief. Now, do you think that would have helped me? That belief would have helped me build wealth?
Unequivocally, no. I think it puts limitations on how we experience money.
100%. I was earning minimum wage. I was struggling to keep the money in my bank account. I was drinking it away until I read 2 books. And it was The 1 Minute Millionaire and Think and Grow Rich. I read these books.
Napoleon Hill. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. That's the one. And I'm going, this is a mindset thing. So I started teaching my child, money grows on trees. Money is literally everywhere. Your mind is the tree. You water it, you nurture it, you ask questions, you listen to great shows like Air Check Your Life. And therefore, you've got more value to add. And when you have value to add, the money just shows up. It's literally everywhere. The same thing happens with our relationships, with our work. So in the book, I talk about 4 beliefs: happiness, money, failure, and success. You must spend time and ask yourself, what do I genuinely believe about those things? And if you have limited or disempowering beliefs, you need to take the time to rewire those. And in the book, I step you through how to do that.
Yeah. Could you give us just a preview of that? Because one of the things that, look, will everybody do what we hope they will, which is go download your book and start doing the projects? I'd like to think that that's great, but I also live in a world of reality. And so how do, and you recommend, this is your recommendation, how do you recommend I tackle the limiting belief? And let's just take the first one, happiness, right? Like, how do I really air check myself around that idea?
So first thing is just get the journal out and write happiness is. And everything that comes to mind, when you go, happiness is fleeting. Happiness is mine for the taking. Happiness is something I don't have enough of. Whatever comes to mind. And start to look through those and go, what's the dominant force? Is it empowering or disempowering? And then simply ask yourself the question, what would be the most empowering thought I could believe about happiness? Happiness is, limitless. That you might go, James, that's absolute nonsense. I don't believe that. Like it's hardly ever around. I'm always annoyed or frustrated or angry. But write the thing you would love to believe. And then what we say we become. And we can see this in the world when political leaders say things over and over and over, when propaganda is thrown at us through social media, we actually start to believe some things that are unbelievably untrue. But our mindset goes, no, I've seen it 100 times. It is true. We can do that to ourselves. Happiness is limitless. Happiness is limitless. Write it down every day. Neuroscience backs this up. When we write something down, a belief every day, and say it aloud, over time, we start to actually believe it and our life starts to move towards it. It's a very simple process, Matthew. If people want to go deeper on that, there's a great book called Into the Magic Shop by Dr. James Doty, neuroscientist and neurosurgeon, who talks about this exact process. And I talk about it in the book.
Okay. I want to talk about, there's so many things that I want to cover. and really people who are in on this podcast are drinking from the fire hose, I promise you, because the book, which he has just put out, Habits of High Performers, is just chock full of the how to. So if you're somebody who says, hey, I really want this out of life. And, the group of people that I'm talking to in my day to day are people that are really looking to break cycles in their own generations. Right. And they feel, I have a term for it. I call it the transitional character. It's that person that is in the family who you feel called to move your family out of dysfunction or move your family into something a lot better than what they've experienced before. And I know, having gone through this entire book over the last 3 days, that it is absolutely a how-to. One of the most practical exercises, page 100, for those who get it, there's a QR code that'll help you out, but it's creating your personal victory journal, because you say it so well in the book that a lot of us forget about the small wins that we've had along the way. And this is backed up by neuroscience too, because if you sit there every day and you say, well, I can't do this, or I haven't really done that much, put a little thought into it, you might prove yourself wrong. So walk us through the concept of the victory journal, how it came to be for you, and how you maybe use it in your own life still.
Yeah, great question, Matthew. So an example, a story of, so I was working with and coaching a prime minister. So a guy running a country, got a lot on his shoulders, and everyone's looking to him. And after 2 sessions, I said, do you believe in yourself? So what do you mean? I says, well, do you believe that you can do what you say you're going to do? He said, well, actually, I don't know if I can. I've never done it before. I've never been a prime minister. It's all new to me. And I says, do you have imposter syndrome? He says, absolutely. Like, I doubt myself all the time. I said, okay, as a leader of a country, do you think more self-belief would be helpful for all of us? Yeah, I do. Awesome. So I says, I'm going to get you a PVJ. And he says, what kind of medical examination is that?
Do my pants stay on? Yeah.
Pretty much.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's a personal victory journal, my friend. He says, okay. So we got a little book out, and I says, tell me what you're proud of from your teens. He said, I hated school, but I graduated. I got through. Awesome. I left home and I started flatting in an apartment with some friends and went to university. Awesome. I saved up enough money and went to my first big concert. Awesome. 20s, 30s, 40s. Tell me about all the things you're proud of. Getting your first home, having children, getting into politics. Brilliant. I says, every time you start to doubt yourself, you need to come back to your PVJ, your personal victory journal, because it reminds your subconscious that I can do hard things. I can step into the arena, not knowing it all, and still figure it out. And Matthew, I do it in my own life. Holding this up, my phone, I have an album on my iPhone with things that I'm super proud of. Things, maybe stages I've stepped on where I'm like, whoa, how did I get on that stage? But I did. Or people that I've worked with that are superstars in their field. I'm like, whoa, I coached that person. And it's not to just go, hey, stroke the ego, I'm awesome. It's to look at when I'm doubting myself, which I do often. I go back to that and go, I can do this. I can get on the stage today. I can make that call today. So we all need something to go back to. And a personal victory journal is a really simple but powerful tool.
I just love the simplicity of starting a photo album in your phone, because again, getting back to what I said earlier, will everybody open up their journal and create this thing? Maybe, maybe not. But almost everybody's got that phone in their pocket right now. Maybe they're listening to us on it right now. And it would be such a fun experience, I think, to go through your photo album and go, that was a win. That was a win. And, Dr. Dave, who's on our podcast here on Our Check Your Life all the time, has said a million times, the brain believes what you tell it. And so if we can prove it to ourselves that these things have happened in the past, boy, it does set us up for some success. As we wind down in the next 5 to 8 minutes here, we would be just ridiculous not to talk about something that's in your book towards the middle to the end. It's the concept of multiplying your motivation. And then we're going to air check James's life at the end of this thing. So hang in there for that, James. It's going to be fun. Multiply motivation. Gosh, that's another one of those things that sounds like common sense, but not like common practice, as you write. So walk us through that.
Yeah, look, the one thing a lot of people ask me for is I'm not motivated. Can you help motivate me? Look, I'm not Tony Robbins. I'm not coming into your life every morning and high-fiving and jumping up and down and clapping. Like, that's not what we need more of. We need this intrinsic motivation. There's two types of motivation, as you know. So intrinsic and extrinsic. Extrinsic is money, status, power, and fame. And yes, we need some of those things. If we don't have money, we don't have choices. If we don't have the ability to have power over our own lives, it's catastrophic. But I see way too many people getting motivated by winning, motivated by making more money. Trust me, I've worked with gold medalists, billionaires, etc. And some of them, some small number, are very happy, but a large number are unhappy. They haven't got what they want. They want more. But the people who are more driven by intrinsic, that's the joy of doing it. I do it because I enjoy it. Like, let's take pickleball or paddle. People don't do that to become world champions generally. They do it because they genuinely enjoy it. So in life, we've got to find this way of balancing extrinsic and intrinsic motivation. So I ask people that I work with to go, the work that you do, what drives you to do it? Why do you do what you do? I was working with some real estate agents in Fiji 2 weeks ago. What kind of work are you in? They're like, we advise people, we help people. I says, guys, that's not enough. Many of you are just in it for the dollars. You've told me that. What is it that you do? And one woman stood up and she says, James, we make people's dreams come true. I was like, yes, okay. That gets you out of bed in the morning. That's intrinsic. You're transforming people's lives. So for the listener, I'm going to challenge them to take 1 minute today and just go, why do I do the things that I do? What motivates me? If it's all just for the money or the status or the Range Rover, just take a pause and do some work on what's the intrinsic motivators I want to be driven by.
This is so fantastic. And I feel compelled to share with the audience, a lot of the work that I do around having productive conversations and becoming a more effective communicator is done because I grew up in a home where people did not know how to talk to each other. And as a result, we chose anger, we chose fighting, we chose drugs, we chose alcohol, we chose just breaking up and dissolving relationships. And I know from my own experience that with the right language, we can keep relationships on the tracks. And so, that is my why. That's why I wake up every single day and try to help people have more effective conversations with each other, because I've seen the power of when it all comes together, and I've seen the power of when it all dismantles. So I'm going to encourage everybody to pick up this book. You can order it. The QR code is right up there. It's called Habits of High Performers. And I'm going to especially ask you to cue into page 247, where he talks about the difference between the 99 percenters and the 1 percenters. It could almost be its own podcast by itself. So we're going to save that for another time. But before you leave, James, are you familiar with the concept of the air check?
No, tell me what that's all about.
So in the radio and television industry, every single day when we got off the air, we would go into a room and we would listen back to our radio show or watch back our television shows. And we would ask ourselves 3 questions. We'd say, what did we get right today? What was okay, but if we're going to do it tomorrow, we should probably tweak it a little bit. And what did we do that cost us an audience? Or let me say it a different way. What did we do today to make it harder or get in our own way? And so that simple framework is the basis for this podcast. And I love to ask all of our guests the same 3 questions. And so, James, and put yourself out there today on your 40th birthday. What are you getting right in your life?
Finally, after many years, I'm able to say no to things that I could never have said no to. opportunities, money, connections, if I don't feel they align with what I'm trying to achieve, I can finally say no and sleep easy and not worry and stress I should have said yes. That's something I'm really excited about.
One of the best answers we've ever had. What's something that you're doing okay, but you'd still like to tweak to make it better for tomorrow?
Yeah, my commitment to strenuous exercise. It's fleeting. I travel too much. I'm on planes delivering keynotes every 5 minutes, and it's just not a committed. I'm 40 now. I've got to think about muscle. I've got to be building that stuff rather than losing it. So I know that that needs to be better. It must be better.
What are you doing that sometimes is getting in your own way?
Getting in my own way. You know what? I talk about it a lot in the book, but self-talk, we all talk to ourselves, and often I'll talk to myself in a way that's not positive and helpful. Like just talking about my physical strength. Often I'll not be, I'll say quite cruel things to myself internally that I would never say to anyone else. That definitely gets in my own way. Or if a health challenge comes up, quite easy to catastrophize. And not tell others about it, but like, oh my God, what is this? And I got to get it searched. And is it a lump? And where's it going? And yeah, I think I'm very human like that. And I need to constantly come back to what the top 2 inches are doing. And so that my top 2 inches are my greatest asset, but they're also my greatest liability.
Love it, man. Such good honesty. Appreciate it. Like I told you, the book is called Habits of High Performers. It's such a great read. And literally pick this book up if you're ready to just jump in and do the work. It's a great kind of step-by-step. I love the journaling. I love how much you ask me to journal in it. I love that you provide the QR codes so I can get some formatted, paper if indeed I'm one of those kind of people who needs it. And really, honestly, man, I mean this. Thank you so much for your time today, especially on your birthday. It has been great to spend time with you today. Thanks.
Such a joy. Thank you, Matthew.
All right. We'll see everybody next week on our Check Your Life. Have a great day.